Okay, hold on. We're starting over. Good evening, everyone. My name is Loretta Wilkins. I'm an executive marketing director at the Juice Plus Company, also a personal trainer and a wellness coach for over 20 years. And we are here to inspire healthy living around the world. It is our mission to help people take healthy back and join this healthy living revolution that we're a part of. And we do that with a lot of continuing education, a lot of cutting edge material and information about the power of plants and nutrition and our incredible product line, Juice Plus. And tonight, I am really excited to bring you two top-notch fitness professionals who are here on their own accord to be able to be part of this mission tonight, to share their expertise, to share their mission. And so I'm going to start out by just going ahead and introducing both of them, and then I'll put it on speaker view before I ask them any questions, okay? So first of all, I'd like to introduce you to a very long-standing friend, Julie Glodich. We both used to live in Ohio, and we turned around and left those winters. I headed to North Carolina a few years ago. She headed to Florida. She resides there with her husband, Ryan, her 4 kids, one of her baby, little Riley, who she just had 9 weeks ago. But she has an extensive background, a bachelor's degree in exercise physiology, a master's degree in exercise science and sports management, certified group fitness instructor for 25 years. And she's taught really everything that you've probably ever taken: yoga, spinning, Pilates, kickboxing, water aerobics, muscle conditioning, prenatal fitness classes. She has a certified strength and conditioning specialist from certification from NSCA, CSCS, and she's also a personal trainer. So you better not go to the gym with her. It might be frightening. And then I just had the privilege of actually doing a workout from our other guest tonight, Tom Tanis. Tom lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's married to his beautiful wife, Amy. They have 5 kids, and he has his own gym and business. And his background is diverse, but it also holds a certification as a health coach with Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. He is a CGPT coach with Tribe Team Training, formal level 1 coach with CrossFit, CPT, NASM, and NCAA Division I wrestling coach, USNA. I know he's also an athlete himself, amazing extraordinaire. And so, wow, they're here to help us really figure out some of the keys to fueling for peak performance and how we can all do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on speaker view. And Tom, I'm going to start with you. And just what I really want to hear from you, and I think everyone else would as well, is in your journey. And now I know you're coaching young athletes as well. Tell us what concerns you. What kinds of habits do you see kids having? What are some of the misunderstandings that you know about that we can clear up? And just kind of give us a little overview of that.
Sure. Great to be here. And so I deal with kids from the ages of 5 all the way up through college in terms of my wrestling club. And then I'm also dealing with fitness clients that range from 12 years of age all the way up through, I think, 80 years young. So I have a nice wide range of clients. For the kids especially, though, one thing that concerns me is the attention to certain pop brands that come around, such as Gatorade, fast food. Protein is a big one. We have a lot of kids that just come in, they say, I need more protein. So that's, a couple of things that really concerns me. Most of the things that I'll sit down with my students and just help kind of guide them through the process of how are you going to fuel for peak performance, and those things aren't it. And I know we'll get into this a little bit more in this talk, but those are the habits that I'm starting to really take a good hard look at how I can change their mindsets with that, because it comes down to mindset. Once they start to understand and believe that there is a certain way to eat, then they're going to be able to buy into the habits of eating the healthy stuff that we're going to talk about, and having fruits and vegetables instead of going to McDonald's or going to Wendy's, and drinking water instead of having Gatorade. So those are the biggest negative habits that's going to affect their performance, and it's amazing when I can change their mindset and they get bought into that new way of eating and living. Their performance just skyrockets, and that's my favorite part of the job, is just seeing that transformation as an athlete.
Awesome. And Julie, I know, with more of a science background, and a lot of education that you had, but you've been on a long journey now. And I know that the education you got and what you have figured out since then, there's a little disconnect there. Could you kind of fill us in on that?
Yes, for sure. Growing up, we always heard about the food groups, and it was important to eat fruits and vegetables, but they didn't really go into any detail about why that was important. And when I was in college, there was so much talk about protein, carbohydrates, and fat and calories, and how carbs, protein, and fat are what make up calories in food. And we would spend tons of time calculating like how many grams, how many calories came from protein, and how many calories, what percentage of it was carbs and fat. And going to school in the 90s, it was all about low fat and no fat foods. And when I was growing up, I remember my mom would buy fat-free Entenmann's loaf cakes, and we're like, oh, it's fat-free, like it's healthy. But the ingredients were probably like this long, like probably took up a whole side of the box. Even when I was in college, it was still, a big thing about eating fat-free. And then that was really like eye-opening for me when I was first introduced to a product called Juice Plus, and learning from different doctors and professionals the focus on the micronutrition. So we hear a lot about the macronutrition, which is your carbs, your proteins, your fat. And that's like huge. And drinking water, you hear about that. And that's important when you exercise. It is important. But that micronutrition is what we get from plants, from fruits and vegetables. And I also think in school, they really don't differentiate much between animal protein and plant protein. I remember when I was in grad school, my professor was a vegetarian, and her talking about it, but she never really went into detail about the differences and how really you can be an amazing athlete just from eating plant proteins. And the good thing about that is you're also getting those phytonutrients from the plants that you're eating, from the grains and from the vegetables, and how much protein really is in vegetables that, like, you never hear about that when you're thinking protein. They talk about, maybe nuts and seeds, but then it's, salmon or chicken, things like that, and dairy, how much of a stress and there is on dairy. And really that's just from our, the dairy industry, like paying off things. And that you kind of, when you start learning about it, it's really eye-opening that those things they were teaching us about drinking a glass of milk at every meal wasn't really benefiting our bodies the way that we were taught that it was.
So I know one thing I've seen through the years, and a lot of the training that I did was a lot of people that really just wanted to lose weight and get fit. And I'm going to go ahead tonight and show, because we were talking about fast food a little bit. Tom, you mentioned it. Tom, you both have seen this. Julie, I think you might have one as well. But, I've got my 17-year-old cheeseburger and fries here from a fast food restaurant that I have been carting around the country to show thousands of people. I've got a bag of cereal that's been around for years that has no mold, no decay. And I really want you to make your point strongly about why do we have to stop with fast food and junk food? What is happening to our health and to an athlete's body when we're just fueling with junk? So just a little bit about that for a minute. Either one of you, or I guess I'll just start back with Tom, and then Julie, you hop in.
Yeah. I'm a life coach for Dr. Sears, and I think he puts it pretty well. Talks about all the dyes, all the processed foods, all that stuff is like cars that are parking in a parking lot and not moving, not going anywhere. They're just there. So they're just taking up room. And so when you give your body fruits and vegetables, or you give your body something healthy, all that, all those cars, which is the dyes and the fast food and everything that creates inflammation, is preventing your body from absorbing anything healthy, anything good. So the more that you take in, obviously, the more you're going to stay away from the really good opportunity to absorb, actual good whole food, plant-based nutrition. And that's the goal, is to try to wean yourself off of, that inflammatory food system and turn it over to the plants and let it do its job so that you can be optimal in everything that you do, not just in athletics, but in your daily life.
Awesome. Julie, piggyback on that, and then also talk about, a little bit about the gluten and the dairy and these fast food, junk foods, and what that's doing.
Yes. All of those foods, like those food dyes and the sugars that Tom was mentioning, they're so addictive. So, and that's part of like the problem, is that people are eating these foods, and that's your whatever you're eating, that's what's shaping your taste buds. And then you're just going to crave more and more of that. And I had seen it with my kids when they started school, that their taste buds started changing just based on what they saw other people eating and the foods that they wanted and things that there was something my son used to bring to school that he loved. And by the time he was 4, he was like, I don't want that anymore. Like, and my kids, they all started out eating great. They ate what I ate. I, fueled them well while I was pregnant, and then they would eat off my plate. But I definitely noticed a difference when they were in school and around other kids. And even my daughter, for cheerleading this year, her coach, totally well-meaning, she would give them all these presents before games and before competitions. But I kid you not, the biggest containers of candy. And then my daughter hides them in her room. And I didn't know this, and she's 13 years old. So like her younger brother and sister were finding the candy that she was hiding. The dog was finding candy. So, our house is totally not perfect at all, but it was very eye-opening, because of like, oh, and then I saw the coach giving the girls like these megaphones full of candy at like their end of the year banquet. And it was crazy just how much sugar. So what that does, the inflammation that Tom talked about, it's going to set them up for injuries. And it does. I mean, I've seen it happen. And dairy and gluten are the same way. They're really inflammatory. So as kids, I notice it with my kids. When they're really hungry, they're going to ask for bagels and toast and cereal. They're really like going for carbs, wanting those carbs for that energy and to fill them up. And I eat gluten-free, and I have gluten-free options, but I don't tend to do a lot of like gluten-free bread for myself. I'd rather just not eat the bread. So we do have like regular bread and gluten foods in the house. So I definitely noticed my kids being attracted toward that. It's probably something that I can like, get rid of. Then they'll have to like go for an apple. But I do always say if they're going to have a bagel, they have to have an apple with it. So I do that. But if I wasn't home, I don't know if that would happen. And same thing with dairy. I haven't drank dairy for years. My husband went shopping today and bought yogurt, and we're talking about the food dyes. He bought the ones that are like Disney frozen. So my youngest, my 4-year-old, loves Anna and Elsa. So, she's all excited to have the purple yogurt that Daddy brought home. And I've told him this before, like, don't buy it, because then I buy the So Delicious coconut milk yogurt, and she likes that just as much. But if they're both side by side in the refrigerator, she's choosing Elsa or Olaf, and all those food dyes and dairy and all of that. So, I mean, it's tough, because when my husband's answer is, you can get like 6 of the other one for half the cost of the, dairy free. But the point is, the dairy free is healthier and it's big. I wish they're bigger containers. They fill you up more than the empty calories. So it is tough with kids, because they get excited and they market for kids. Like, why is this Yoplait yogurt? Nobody would buy it if it didn't have Anna and Elsa on it, or Paw Patrol, and so many things. Junk food, you go down that cereal aisle, we only buy Cheerios, but if you go down that cereal aisle, there's like unicorn, sparkly unicorn marshmallows. Like, my daughter would love that. So we just don't go down that aisle, because it's definitely everywhere, and it's just getting them addicted to sugar, and at a young age. And that's what it is. The food companies, like, they want consumers for life. They want people eating those foods. And I remember growing up, I could down, a whole box. If my mom bought Fruit Loops, I'd eat that whole box. My brother and I would have it done in a few days. But that Raisin Bran would sit there longer. But if all that was there was Raisin Bran, we'd eat it. So
Right.
all what you buy, as a parent, you do have control.
And I think that that could be a whole nother topic night for us to talk about, is the addiction of food and the marketing to us. And so moving to now another side of this coin, Tom, maybe you can address a little bit about the protein myth. I've always seen at the gyms, it's like, you got muscle milk and it's 34 grams of protein, and everyone they want to fuel with their protein. And of course I know we need protein, and when you're an athlete and you're building muscle, you need protein. But just speak to the little bit of the myth of that, as well as the whey protein, what you see with that versus these plant proteins that we can get. You have a comment on that?
Yeah. For the whey protein, it comes down to marketing, honestly. And I see a lot of kids that are getting persuaded by the marketing companies that tout that if you take this gigantic tub of whey protein bodybuilder, that you're going to put on 20 pounds of muscle. And so I see these kids doing this, and they're forgetting the simple rule of keep it simple, stupid. We've heard that over and over again. And it's like, when you look on the back of an ingredient list and you see line items that are probably 50, 60 lines long, you have to start to question that and say, okay, what's in there that's good for me? And when you look at those protein, I call them, like, they're not even gallons, they're bigger than gallons, they're huge. But when you look at those, you just see a lot of chemicals, a lot of processed synthetic materials that are going into this. Potentially, maybe some goodness in there, but with the whey protein, you're going back to the dairy, which is going to inflame your body, and it's going to be hard to absorb any of the good stuff that is potentially in those protein things. So that's one of the big myths that I always have to talk to my kids about, and just try to get them on the right track of saying, okay, we want to fuel your body with protein, but it doesn't necessarily have to be whey protein. We can fuel your body with protein that comes from plants. Spinach has a ton of protein in it. Pound for pound, it's one of the best things that you can have. And you can start to stay away from the protein that causes inflammation to the protein that helps reduce inflammation and starts to actually build on the cellular level. Not on the macro level, but it actually gets down to the cells and starts to repair those. And that's when you're truly going to start to see a difference in your performance, your mood, your energy. Everything starts to improve when you're repairing at the cellular level. And that protein is so much better when it comes from the ground or it comes from plants than it does in a huge vat of processed synthetic chemicals.
I so appreciate that. And one thing that I always made the connection about whey protein is curds and whey. Whey is actually the leftover after they make processed cheese. And now you've got this whey that ends up getting processed again to turn into those powders. And we know that that source of protein has casein in it. And casein, if you go do your homework, is linked to prostate and breast cancer and other cancers as well. So just even on a health note, we know that might not be the best choice. And so, Tom, on the line of thinking you were headed, which is plants and the importance of them and why we need more of them. And so a little bit more about why, like how many, what kinds, but also weave in why, when your wife introduced you to Juice Plus, did some light bulbs go off, and what has been your experience fueling with Juice Plus?
Sure. So fruits and vegetables, in terms of servings that you're supposed to have, the recommendation right now for the population, I believe, is 7 to 12. And then for athletes, we're looking at up to 14 to 17 servings a day, just to, meet the minimum, meet the standard. And right now, that America, I think the average is about 2 to 3 servings. And that's tough to swallow, especially as a coach. It's tough to look out on my kids and my students and see that not a lot of these kids are even touching a vegetable or a fruit, during that whole day, and they should be having 17 servings of it, So that's a huge aspect that I try to really encourage my athletes to start to look at. And they can't change overnight. They can't all of a sudden turn into this great healthy eater, but they can make one change. They can start to increase the amount of fruits and vegetables that they're taking. They can start to drink more water and go down that path of doing that. And then that's going to help with, their oxidative stress. I know we'll get into this in a little bit, but that is really important to me for my kids to start to understand that, that they're putting a lot of stress on their body. And the way to reduce that stress is through those phytochemicals to help, give you that antioxidants that will help, defeat the stress that you're putting on your body through exercise. And then what was the other question that you had for me?
Just, Sorry. A little bit newer to Juice Plus. What has that done for you just in your own personal workouts and as a family? Why has that made sense? And why are you now recommending that to your athletes?
Yeah. So we started about 3 years ago, and it was almost a desperate cry for help for my wife and I, because we were at our wit's end. Our kids were getting sick a lot. And through the winter, it was a really tough time bringing them to doctor's visits weekly and just not understanding what we were doing. We thought we were eating healthy. We thought we were doing the right things. And then one of our friends had referred us to the product Juice Plus. And we were saying, yes, we're going to try anything. And this seems like a great solution. My wife's a doctor, and she has a ton of knowledge, so I trust her, implicitly. She's, my better half, of course. And so we started that process, and we started to, see different changes in our family. For me, the light bulb went off when, so I'm a wrestler, I'm a coach, so I'm coaching wrestling, and I'm working out 3 to 4 hours at a time. And when I get up in the morning, I would get up and I couldn't stand up straight. My ankles hurt, and I would, get up to go to the bathroom in the morning, and I would hobble over. Might as well have a stroller in front of me to help me move to the bathroom. And over about 6 months, I started to notice, man, my recovery from wrestling the night before is greatly improved. I'm able to get out of bed and actually walk without a lot of pain. And that's continued to improve. The light bulb goes off every day now that I have a hard workout, and the next day my recovery was like I was, 25 years old again, and I just feel great now. And so that part has really gotten me to share my story with all of my wrestlers, all of my clients, and just say, this is changing my life. It's changing my family's life. We haven't been to the doctor in a couple of years now in terms of sick visits. Our kids are flourishing. They're doing really well. my, my cognitive ability is improving. And I just feel so much healthier. And I think a lot has to do with it because of my reduction of inflammation. And so I'm a big, proponent of that, and or advocate of that. And I really try to push that with my clients because it's changed in my life. I'm able to train a lot harder. I recover a lot faster, and I feel a lot better. So that's what it's done for me. And being an athlete, being a Division I athlete, I took fourth in the country when I was in Rutgers for wrestling, and I worked my butt off. And I remember going through all those hard workouts and being able to recover. And 10 years later, I never thought I would get back to that. And now I'm 20 years later, showing my age, but now I'm back to recovering the way I did when I was in college. So that to me, I can shout that from the rooftops and say, that's what's happened. And it's given me such a breath of, fresh air in my my eating habits and everything else. So I'm on a mission.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard you share your story, and that is amazing. And I've always heard it's not how hard you train, it's how well and quick you can recover. Because
Exactly.
if you're, debilitated, and I remember just the times you have a workout and you get a real serious burn, and like for a couple of days, that lactic acid in your body isn't good for you either. And so the fact that this product breaks that down quickly. And Julie, let's wrap it up with your story, but also as a fitness professional who's doing yoga in the morning and spinning at night, sometimes 2, 3, 4 classes a day, I see a lot of fitness professionals with their coffee, and they know they're going to burn a lot of calories, so they kind of have this little bit of a mindset of I can eat what I want. But we know that can't possibly be good. So anything you kind of want to add about fitness professionals and what you saw?
Yeah. Oh, that is so true. I remember working at the gym and I would have 5 a.m. clients, and then I would have 9 p.m. clients, and I would be at the gym all day long, personal training, teaching classes, and I was the fitness director. So I had that 8-hour job in the middle of everything as well. And I would drink Diet Rockstar. So it had no calories, but it would give me the caffeine. So I'd have that around like after dinner so that I could, or at some point, so I could keep going like until I got home at 10. And this was all before I had kids. And I was probably before, maybe we had just gotten married, but we were still, in your 20s and you're going out. Oh, and that was probably because we were probably going out that night to like meet out with friends at a bar. So I, had been up since 5, and how it is. So, but I could do that and be fine. Or so I thought I was fine. I remember, I had a chronic sore throat for probably 10 years of my life, all through high school. And I always said it was from cheerleading, and I'm really loud and talk a lot. And I worked at, I worked at Dairy Queen. So that's pretty funny that I ate Dairy Queen as well. And I would work the drive-through. So I was always talking. So I literally had a sore throat. I had this like low raspy voice that I thought sounded so cool, but really I just had a sore throat all the time. I had chronic inflammation. Then I'm teaching classes, and I started teaching aerobics in college and through my 20s, and I always had that sore throat, and I had chronic tonsillitis all through my teens and 20s, and was always on antibiotics, but so was everybody else. So I thought it was normal, because people were always getting sick. And, again, I thought it was normal. Now I look at my kids who, like my 4-year-old, the only time she ever even had a runny nose was when she was 1 year old, and her pediatrician talked me into getting her a flu shot. That is the only time she ever had a runny nose. And she's 4 and she goes to preschool. And doesn't get sick. I mean, you always say knock on wood, but with my my older 2, same thing. One of them has been on antibiotics once, my oldest. And that's it. My son never has. So, I mean, we don't have sick visits to the doctors. And again, you would think with 4 kids that we would, but we don't. And they're picky eaters. They don't eat perfect, but I love the security that I know they are flooding their body with 30 fruits and vegetables every single day through Juice Plus. So I was introduced to Juice Plus 14 years ago from my mom. I had just found out I was pregnant. I knew I needed to be eating more fruits and vegetables because I had read that during pregnancy you need more fruits and vegetables. So instead of taking one apple to work for lunch, I was taking an apple and an orange. So I was getting a whole 2 fruits during the day. Real close to that, 17 goal. And I loved that it was something that you could take during pregnancy, because most supplements have that warning about consulting your doctor, and this didn't have it, and it didn't have a safety seal or the little child lock seal. I was very like, it was so different than any other thing I had ever seen. I really didn't get it at first. Like, I thought it was just like vitamins, but once I understood that it was concentrated fruits and vegetables, I would never, ever skip a day of getting that into my body or my family's body. And I can say that, my husband and I now in our 40s, we feel better than we did in our 20s. And the recovering from workouts, it's crazy. So I just started running last week when the baby turned 2 months old, and I was sore like the first day, and it felt really good. It was a really good sore. And then the next day, I went running again, and I was still like a little sore. But then by like the third time, I was like, well, that was too easy. And I'm kind of like taking it easy because it was my 4th C-section, and you want to recover well. But I was just kind of like disappointed that I'm not more sore. Like, I need to step up my workouts like faster than an average, than I would, recommend to a client who was postnatal. I'd recommend them going slow, but I feel like I need to go a little faster because I'm recovering really fast. The complete shakes are a game changer when it comes to that, an easy breakfast in the morning, and for after your workouts, or for the kids at night, if they're still hungry, I'll have them make themselves a smoothie. And it's just so different than those big things from GNC that you're so used to, seeing at the gym. Once I tried Complete, I was like, first of all, it tastes amazing, and you can drink it when you're pregnant, when you're breastfeeding. You can give it to kids. Like, you can't do that with other recovery drinks, because it actually has stuff in it that it's not a mega amount of protein. It doesn't have herbs and different things. It's just your plants and the power of plants, and it just does amazing stuff in us. And I love it. I love that as we're getting older, we're feeling better, while the rest of the world, who hasn't quite caught on yet to us, still needs to hear our message, where they're feeling worse.
Well, now be careful about talking about being old, because I've got both of you many. We won't talk about the
age
birthday that
backwards.
I
So
have coming
Florida,
up.
that makes you younger than us.
So I'm going to screen
Exactly.
share, and I'm going to show a 1.5 minute video. It's not going to take long at all. So hold tight for 1 minute. This is Dr. David Phillips.
When you exercise, you feel like you're entitled to eat anything you want. And to a certain extent, it's okay to go out and treat yourself, but exercising all the time is not an excuse to go out and head to the local fast food chain and pig out. You also need to fuel your body for performance. When you exercise, you feel like you're entitled to eat anything you want. And to a certain extent, it's okay to go out and treat yourself, but exercising all the time is not an excuse to go out and head to the local fast food chain and pig out. You also need to fuel your body for performance. What we're talking about really is the difference between macronutrition, which is eating the fats, the carbohydrates, and proteins that we're all really familiar with. That's just one aspect of nutrition as it applies to not only good health, but as it relates to exercise. But it's also the important role of the micronutrition. And you get micronutrition from fruits and vegetables. And so people get those confused. And I like to think of macronutrition as the fuel that makes your engine run. And micronutrition is the oil that continues to make your engine run properly. And you can't just have macronutrients and expect your engine to run well. Just like you can't put gasoline in a car and not put oil in it, because eventually that engine, it'll continue to run for a while, but it will break down. And our body's engines are basically the same kind of thing. You know, you can put all the macronutrients into it that you want, but if you're not putting micronutrients into it, eventually your engine is going to fail as well. So that's why I recommend Juice Plus for athletes, especially in my type of competition, Ironman competition. But for anybody at any level of physical activity, Juice Plus is going to provide the micronutrition to keep your engine running smoothly, protecting your ability to perform well, not just today, but next month, how about next year, how about 5 or 10 years from now? And that's what Juice Plus is all about, is protecting your performance.
Awesome. Okay, and I'm going to just go ahead and show you Juice Plus just so you can kind of see it up close and personal. So our core products, fruit and vegetable capsules that also come in a soft chewable for children. We also have a program called the Healthy Starts for Families, where if a parent or grandparent gets started on Juice Plus, a child can get Juice Plus for free along with that order. And then the beauty of the berry blend, which you don't want to be without, okay? The berry blend has 9 berries, grapes, green tea, ginger root, artichoke hearts, grape seeds, powerhouse of antioxidants. Really right here are those phytonutrients, the management of oxidative stress that doctor was just talking about right here. Also, just the clinical research. There has been 41 clinical published studies on those trio capsules with over 30 plant foods in them. So we know it reduces inflammation on a systemic level. We know that it provides a more balanced immune system. We have the proof of what this product is able to do. We can get you that information if that's important to you. Our newest capsule to the line are our omegas, and these are omegas 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, all from plant sources. We bypassed the fish. We went and started growing our own non-GMO algae. That is the source of our omega-3s. And then we cold press the seeds of other foods. And so this entire product line are all plants. And it is really what we pride ourselves on. We have a nutrition facts label. So Julie pointed out, I want to make sure that that registered with you. It's not a supplement. It's an FDA approved food label. We also carry 2 of the toughest certifications anywhere in the world for the quality and the efficacy by which your product is made. This is huge for a professional athlete, an Olympian. They can't just take anything. How many times have you heard in the news an athlete was sidelined and benched because they got tested for some type of additive that happened to exist in their supplement that they may not even have known about? Our athletes can actually receive a certification guaranteeing that what's in the label is in there, nothing else is being found in there, and that it is all 100%. It is all 100% non-GMO. We always will be, but it's also herbicide, pesticide, and metal-free every single batch. And so you take those in a capsule or a soft chewable, and then we briefly mentioned the shake. So this is your micronutrition and this is your macronutrition, because remember, we do need both. We do need calories. We do need something to burn. 13 grams of plant proteins, 8 grams of plant fibers. This is super clean. It's vegan. It's gluten-free. It's dairy-free. It is nothing but food. It's also a nutrition facts label. It's only 140 calories. Add it to water, add it to some almond milk, coconut milk, oat milk. That's my new favorite, is the oat milk thing. We make it every morning, my husband and I, in a blender with fruit, and we do it before our workout. It is our breakfast, and then we tend to fuel with other things after that. Other people like it as pre or post exercise recovery. Shake it up. It can be thrown in your bag with a shaker bottle. How awesome is it? And there is a benefit to fueling your body with liquid protein right post a workout, because it will get very quickly absorbed into the cells. It will promote that recovery. This could be your lunch. It doesn't matter. It is one of the sources of your food. It's in your toolbox for your eating habits. For those busy kids, it comes in a bar form. So that is it. You just looked at our entire product line. So we wanted you to have the information from these 2 professionals, how they're doing it, how it's affected their lives, and then a little bit about the product. I would suggest getting with the person who invited you here. We offer 30-minute free health consultations. We can get with you to answer questions. We run on this Voxer app. So if you have a question for Julie or Tom specifically, I could get an answer from them and forward it to you. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take it off recording. I am going to say, if anyone wants to sign off and say goodnight, great. I want to thank you, Julie and Tom, for joining me tonight for this continuing education on fueling for peak performance. And then if somebody has a question,